What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense, a couple of old friends who grew up together in Pennsylvania and now live on opposite sides of the country. This is our chance to get together once a week to share our thoughts on politics, sports, movies, and TV. I'm Eric Messersmith in the Los Angeles area, Brian Johnson in suburban Washington, D.C. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Still enjoying slightly less traffic here in Washington, D.C. I did notice it today. I was in and out a little quicker than normal, so not sure what's going on there.
Well, we
Uh,
got this government shutdown. 4
I
weeks
know,
now.
but like it,
Four
it, I
weeks.
told you a few weeks ago, I really didn't see an impact on traffic. Today was the first day where I was like, this is unusual.
It's weird because every week I keep asking you some variation of this question. Do you think are we close to being done with this?
We're closer than we were the last time that you asked me the question. I think definitively I can answer that.
Yes, the latest development, if you want to call it that I saw today is that they're talking about finding a compromise bill that would pay all the federal employees even if the shutdown was ongoing. So
Hmm.
we'll see if that actually
I don't even know if
passes.
I agree with that.
I don't think it will pass because I don't think
Doesn't
the
that
White
sound
House.
unconstitutional? I haven't gone to law school ever, but
Well, no, I think you can finagle it, right? I think there's a way to
it's
because
all
some
made
people,
up, so you
right?
could finagle it.
That's kind of the lesson of the Trump era, right? Is that all of this stuff is just
It's just
kind
made
of
up.
yeah, we're in the massive gray area here. I think the key date I saw is Saturday,
November
November
1st.
1st, food stamps. So
Yes.
apparently there are 42-ish million Americans who depend on food stamps.
That is a crazy number. I didn't
That's a
know
lot of
that
people.
number. That's a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
a lot
people,
of
dude.
people. And it just shows you how much we are a society of haves and have nots. We have a record number of billionaires and we have 42 million people on food stamps.
That's a lot
And
of people.
it's a lot of people. And those people apparently, unless something happens, and there is a bill in Congress to pay to continue the food stamp program, but unless that passes in the next few days, which doesn't seem likely, that money's going to run out. And to me, that's kind of an inflection point where the pressure's really going to start to build. Like up to now, a lot of it's been theoretical harms and maybe some flight delays here or there. But if people start losing access to food stamps, you're going to see stories all over the country in
I
local
think
media. Pressure is
you'll
going to ratchet up pretty
yes,
high.
you'll see a lot of stories, but I think that well, I'm speaking on what I think. I think there are a lot of safeguards in place within those marginalized communities that to get help. Like not across the board. Obviously, losing things like WIC, food stamps, things like that, they're significant because people rely on those things to feed their families, their small children, or at least offset the cost of what those things would be relative to where they live. But I do feel like in DC, I'm not sure how it is in LA. I do think there are a lot of safeguards in place locally for those people, be it like public school, because that is a huge one.
Yeah,
Because public
charity.
schools, yeah.
I just think that it's so many people. It's going to cause such a massive problem. My guess is they will have to try to figure something out. Both sides will be motivated if the shutdown's still happening next week
We
to
agree.
try to get some type of snap extension. The president is, of course, in Asia right now, so he's gone pretty much
Obviously.
all week.
What about
Yeah,
the ballroom? He's not monitoring the construction. I
the
thought he would be all over
ballroom
that.
is being built. So I thought it would be done pretty soon. And if they can't get the snap thing worked out,
Oh, I thought you
that
meant the ballroom.
no, the ballroom will not be done soon. So we'll see. I still don't think the Democrats are ultimately going to get what they want from this, but but the pressure will mount for something with the healthcare subsidies that are about to run out. I just don't think the pressure is that high right now because the exchanges haven't even opened yet. They open for the most part on Saturday, so that's when a lot of people will go in and maybe for the first time discover, holy shit, my premiums are going up 3 or 4
Yeah.
times, and they don't kick in until the end of the year in January. So I think something probably gets done there, but I just can't imagine it happens anytime soon.
I know I've mentioned it twice and I hate to go back to it, but without being hyperbolic, I'm just saying there is a little let them eat cake in that we're not going to give subsidies for, food while we're building a ballroom. Like
Right. It's
I'm
not
just
the best
saying, like
visual.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying those things are connected because
Right.
the reality is they're really not. They're
Right.
very far apart. So it's not Marie Antoinette, but there is a
Yeah.
little there where it's like, all right, I'm going to redo this ballroom I don't like.
Well, I think
And
there is two different ways to look at a shutdown if you're in the Democrats' shoes. The first is actually getting a result, which I think seems unlikely that they get it from the shutdown. Although, as I said, I think they will eventually get something with the healthcare subsidies. But the other benefit, if you will, is to galvanize your supporters and politically improve your position and raise awareness of an issue. And in that regard, I think they have made some headway in a way that can help them. I think the base loves this. It gets people fired up. And it also sends a message, as long as you're disciplined in your messaging, that, hey, what we are actually fighting for is extensions of these subsidies for Obamacare plans that will save people hundreds and in some case thousands and thousands of dollars a year. Like that is a nice message to be on. And if it falls through and it doesn't happen, now you have raised it to a level where I think people will rightly blame the party in charge, which is the
no, well,
Republicans,
right.
if it doesn't happen. So you've set yourself up politically, I think, in a decent position, even if you don't get the result, which kind of ironically, if you think about it, politically, you don't really want to get the result because
You're right.
morally, you want the result. You want to help these people who are going to have these
Morals. I love you.
right. But if that happens, it actually hurts you politically because it takes an issue off the table.
Right.
And you can't blame the Republicans at that point. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of the ballroom, what are your thoughts on that? Because I kind of have mixed feelings. The ballroom being torn down, so the whole east wing of the White House has been destroyed,
Yes.
and they are going to replace it with this quite large ballroom. And Democrats are very upset about this. Is this getting you angry, Brian? Is this making your list of things you're angry about?
I don't believe I have a list, but if I did have a list of things that grind my gears and make me angry, adding a ballroom to a wing of the White House would not be on that list. I know how some of this sounds when it comes out of my mouth, but we're talking about what, 300 million? I mean, it's going to end
No,
up
yeah,
probably costing like a little bit more money, but like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, the White House does need a ballroom. Like they
yeah.
host events, like things happen there that are significant. So, I mean, you know what I'm driving at here, which is of all the things about Trump that bother me, this doesn't make my top 1,000.
Right. And that's exactly where I am. I think this is one of those. This goes in the bucket of something that actually is a decent result from
Right.
Trump, but
This is
is
the base
done,
suit,
but
is what
isn't
this
done.
is.
This is what?
The Obama base suit.
Well, it's actually no, it because the base shoot didn't actually provide anything of value. I think this will provide some.
It's
Although,
better
well,
than
maybe
that.
the memes, maybe the
Yeah,
memes.
well,
This will
that's
provide something
tangible.
of lasting value. But with Trump, a lot of it is about the process. So he lied about what would happen. He said it would be very minor and there wouldn't be massive demolition. There clearly was. They didn't really go through a thorough review process on this, which
Correct.
I think might not be the best thing to do when you're considering doing something to the White House, which ultimately belongs to the American people. But the end result, I'm actually fine with.
Have
And
you
I
ever
think
been to the White House?
no, I've never been.
I highly recommend it. It's really great.
I
Like if
would
you,
I would like to
like
check
if
it out.
you and Christina and Maximus Prime decide to make the trek out here to Washington D.C., I will arrange us a
Oh,
White
please
House
do.
tour.
Could we meet the
Because
president while we're there?
I can't
You
guarantee,
can't
especially
arrange
in
that?
this administration.
No, especially if they'd
In
be like, I'm
previous
sorry.
administrations, I don't want to say no. I just want to say that still they're busy people.
They
They
would
do
be
lots of
like,
things. It's very difficult to squeeze in to the president's calendar,
yeah, we could be like,
especially at my level.
sir, have you heard the Take No Offense podcast? I know we've been critical,
Could
but
you
maybe
endorse it? Could you hold up a sign real quick so we can post it on social media, which we are not active on? No, but I'm serious. Like the White House tour is fantastic. Between that and like old executive office, like the grounds really are amazing.
I'll have to check it out.
Like say
I
what you will, but like I'm actually excited for a new ballroom to go in. I mean, the White House is old. I don't know if people
it
know
is.
this, but it was built a long time ago, and it
Yes.
constantly undergoes all kinds of renovations that, for a variety of reasons, I can't really get into. Only to say that they are constantly working on the White House.
Well, and from what I heard the other day, that when they have to hold some of these state dinners or other big events, they have to bring in
Yeah.
heated tents.
Yep.
they have to, so you have to spend a lot of money there and porta potties. And you've got, so I mean, it's just not a
No, but
good
that's what I'm
look.
saying. You
Yeah,
really want the ambassador of Zimbabwe in a porta potty. It's
right.
not a
I
great
mean,
look.
no, it's not a great look for the richest country in the world. So I'm fine with it. Of all the things Trump is doing, whatever. What I wanted to talk about a Graham Planter in Maine. So Maine is an interesting state for 2026 because Susan Collins, a longtime Republican senator, is the only Republican senator representing a blue state. So she is probably the number one target for Democrats
Yeah.
in 2026 if they want to take back the Senate. They have to win that seat, among others. And there are two candidates. So you've got Janet Mills on the Democratic side, two major candidates, who's the sitting two-term governor. She's 77 years old. Then on the other side, you have a man named Graham Planter, who is a oyster farmer and a former member of the military, served several tours, saw combat. He's in his early 40s with no political experience. So these two candidates could not be polar opposite in their background. And Planter has picked up an endorsement from Bernie Sanders.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. He's
Especially
raised
in
a
that
ton
area.
of money. Right. New Englander. He's gotten a ton of play from a lot of liberals and social media. But he's also run into some controversy. After he came back from serving overseas, he was a prolific poster apparently on Reddit, posted some offensive things. I won't get into them. There's a lot of stuff there. Some of it's
Black
offensive,
people
some of
don't
it's
tip
not.
was one of them.
Yeah, it was also about he downplayed sexual assault in the military, so it wasn't great stuff. I'm not here to defend everything he said. And then he also, when he was in the Marines, he got a tattoo, skull and crossbone. Apparently, it is a Nazi symbol. He claims he didn't know it. He's since had it covered up. So I think it gets to a lot of different issues here. A generational change within the Democratic Party is one. Also, when we have younger candidates like this, Gen X, millennial, or I guess Gen Z, millennial, what they're probably going to have some embarrassing things in their past about social media. So,
Yeah.
what level of grace should we give them, do you think, when a candidate emerges based on things on their past, in their past, they may have said that are offensive on social media?
Well, this was not a huge change for me, but it would be a huge change for the Democratic Party, to be very clear. Like, normally these things are held against you. Like, you called someone a fag in 1987 when everyone said that, but you just happened to say it. Uh, and someone caught it on one of those like handheld, remember the big camcorders? You used to put them
Yeah.
on your shoulder. So,
Yes.
like when
Different
we were
world.
kids. So now you can no longer run for political office. I think Trump has shown that it really doesn't matter what you say on social media. What's more important are your core beliefs and how you present yourself. I did want to mention that I did look up the Nazi tattoo that he got. And I want to say, as someone who was the director of security for the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington and actively worked with the ADL, if you knew that, you either worked for the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington or at the ADL, because it is so clearly not.
Or you yourself are a Nazi.
Right, or you are yourself a Nazi.
Yes.
That's the only way that you would look at that symbol and immediately know
Right.
that it was a Nazi symbol. So with that in mind, I think any reasonable person would take that and go, he was a Marine. He worked with a lot of people, probably not a Nazi. Now, as someone, again, who was in the Marine Corps, I didn't meet a lot of Nazis in the Marine Corps. I'm not saying there weren't some. And to be clear, there were. But not that are running for senator in Maine. Like, what are we talking about?
As a Democrat.
As a Democrat. Like, that seems a little far-fetched. Now, I haven't directly answered your question because those were a couple things that I just wanted to get out on the podcast. So forgive me. I think that someone in their late 30s, early 40s should have a tremendous amount of latitude because social media really was prevalent. Have you looked at your social media from like 15 years ago? Dude, mine was awful.
I'm afraid.
No, not and what I mean is not in things I said, just the way I actively use social. Like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But in all seriousness, though, the one thing I did think about in the time that we like had the show call about this and now is that even 15 years ago, I knew not to say things like black people in general were bad tippers. Like, and I'm serious. Like, I do see people on social media that do those things. They just happen to do them anonymously. So to not have the intelligence to know that these things will last forever. I do think some of that comes into play if you're running for senator. I mean, the good news is, Eric, senators don't have any real power anyway.
Not
I mean, I don't
anymore.
understand
They've
why,
given it all to Trump.
if you're Mills, why you would leave being a governor where you have actual power and you can get real things done just to go into a position where you have no power.
Oh,
But I
I
digress.
think she's term limited. I think that's the answer.
Oh,
I
oh.
think she's term
She
limited
is
as governor.
77. I mean, the last thing, and I'm sorry, I promise I'll land this plane, is again between the time you and I initially you brought this to my attention and now, the one thing I did actually think is a two-term governor who has a base that you can motivate people to vote. If you're the Democrats, isn't it more likely that that person is going to win than some oyster farmer who we're really behind? Because, like, I like it, I do as an idea, and I get what you're driving at, which is we have to get younger. I say we because I'm a registered Democrat. Eric's not. But we have to get younger and we have to put more people in that motivate the base to go out there and vote. But if I'm really looking at this pragmatically, perhaps the governor gives us a better chance to win that seat.
And I think that's why it's a fascinating primary. Like, I'm all for it. Let the voters decide, and I actually really like Plantner, and I saw some of his clips of some of his town halls and the
Smart
way that
guy.
he talked to people. He just has a way of relating to people, and it comes across genuine. And even these scandals, as bad as they've been in the last few weeks, I like the way he's responded. I've seen he talks about what the issues were. He talks about what he said, and some of the things he defends, some of the things he doesn't defend, and he said, "Look, I was wrong on that," and some of the things he puts into context. I think he's a really sharp guy. He's a thoughtful guy, and we want people like that in the process. That said, I'm fine with the Maine Democrats having a chance over the next whatever it is. I think the primary is in the summer. So over the next 6, 8 months to look at both of these candidates, let them go through the gauntlet of media interviews and debates potentially, and let that process work its way out.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the strongest candidate against Susan Collins in one of the seats you absolutely have to win in 2026 if you have any chance of taking back the Senate. So I think the primary is great. I think in the age thing, it's Democrats need to learn the lesson. Like, Dianne Feinstein died in office. It wasn't just Biden. Biden was the biggest example of hanging on too long. Three Democrats have died this year, sitting members of the House of Representatives in their 70s. Three of them. When you have a very small margin in the House, you've had three Democrats die, and so those seats have sat open for months until special elections have been held. You have Nancy Pelosi, who in her mid 80s. Both parties have this, but the Democrats really have a problem of having the very old people in office, and so I think it's legitimate to say, wait a minute. Mills has already said she'll serve one term, which is great, but she's going to be like 79 by the time the election happens.
There
And
are
also,
different 79s, though. There's
That's
Trump
true.
79 and there's Biden 79. And as we came to find out,
That's true.
different
And
things.
the other thing is Graham Planter, the other thing I like about him, he's exactly the kind of Democrat people need, putting
I
aside
like
the
him.
controversies, because he's a white male heterosexual. Democrats got killed among that group in 2024. He's relatively young. He's rural, like legitimately. He's not a guy who fakes being a rural guy on the weekends when he's campaigning and just gets in a pickup truck. He actually is that guy. And so that authentic background is really helpful for the Democrats to have people on the national stage, not to mention the military thing.
No.
There are other strong Democrats who have served in the military, but it's nice to have even more because Republicans have tried to make somehow they have fancied themselves, and I think a lot of people believe this is the party of patriotism, which is crazy to me
Well,
when you consider what happened
conflate
after January
nationalism
6th.
and patriotism, then you're good.
Right, but if you consider the way Trump has just trampled over, the Constitution and our rules and norms, it's kind of crazy. But nonetheless, it has taken hold in a lot of people's minds. So I think he goes against that, and Democrats need more candidates like him. And so I'm glad he's there. I really personally like him, but I also want to see the process play out. I want to see, are there any more skeletons in that closet? Is there anything else that's going to drop? How does he respond to this? How does he respond to Mills? How does she respond to him? Who does better in the polling against Collins? I haven't seen. I've seen polling for the primary. I haven't seen any polling for either of them against Collins. That will be really instructive. So I think that this is what a party should be doing.
Yeah.
that is on the outs, that is in the wilderness like the Democrats are, is having these kind of fights involving style, personality, generation, have these conflicts in the primary and really focus on getting the best people and improving your brand among the people you struggled with. And I think that he gives them a better chance to do that than Governor Mills does, but
No,
we'll
but
see.
you get where I come from. Like, dude, I want AOC to run for president. Not joking. Like, dead serious. Because it's no longer about getting people in the middle. There is no middle. The middle is gone. You need to motivate the people who vote for you to go and vote. That is how you win elections. And I think in what you just said, that's the most interesting thing. Who between Plattner and Mills is going to get the most people to come out and vote for them? And that's why, but the general election is a little different than a primary, and you know that. Those are two totally
Oh,
different
it's
things.
absolutely.
Like, I feel
Absolutely.
like Mills may perform very strongly in a primary. She's a sitting governor
Yeah.
of a state.
Although if you look at the polling, Plattner has been ahead of her in the polling, and I just saw the first time today
Yeah.
Mills was ahead. So that it's a very competitive
No, it
primary,
is.
but
I
we'll
was just
see.
going to say, though, that saying that black people are bad tippers in Maine, I don't think it affects a lot of the voting public. I don't know if you've ever been to Maine, but
I've not actually. I hear it's
oh,
beautiful,
it is
especially in the
amazing,
winter.
but not exactly a bastion of African Americans. Not that
No.
it's just not like
Or minorities of any kind,
no
I'd
my
imagine.
of any kind. It is a sea. It's basically Newfoundland in
Right.
America, is what it is.
Right.
And
Uh,
retirees, a lot of retirees.
all right, Brian, at the time we have left, I wanted to get your thoughts on the World Series. The Dodgers won
Oh,
in 18 innings last night
you
on a
saw it to the
walk-off
finish.
homer. I did not. I went
Oh,
to bed about an hour and a half.
you're on
I
the
went to
West
bed about the
Coast.
14th or 15th, even though I'm on the West Coast, in the city where the Dodgers play. So the Dodgers are up 2-1, and Shohei Ohtani is on the mound as we're recording this evening. They're going. It looks like the Dodgers are in good shape, but the thing that struck me is interesting is Ohtani is so good. He had a couple of home runs in this game. He was 4 for 4, and then they walked him 5 consecutive times in extra innings.
Right.
Most of those, all but one of those, intentional. They decided they're just not going to pitch to him. It's a crazy strategy that a guy has gotten that good. I mean, we've seen intentional walks, people pitching
Sure,
around people before,
Bonds.
but
Yeah.
not every single at bat.
Well, in extra innings, it makes a lot of sense because they know that he can change the game on one swing. The thing I love about Shohei Ohtani is that he breaks records that are by like Slappy Warrenstein from like 1882.
Was that
like
the
you
nine?
never
Was that
see
the
that
nine
anymore.
times on
No,
base
there are
record?
3 times in baseball history, none of it in the postseason, where a player has reached base. Dude, baseball is so great for stats like this. I don't have it in front of me. I didn't look it up, but I promise you, all of the people that have that record, and there are 3 of them reaching base 9 times in one game, they sound like our great great grandfathers. Like, their names are Red and Buck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They
So,
got
I mean, there's not
nicknames
much that, yeah,
like Shorty
yeah, right.
and
Rabbit. Oh, there he goes. Old Rabbit running down the line.
and their God-given names are like Garfield and Heathcliff and
Exactly. So I think with all of that as a setup, there's not really much that you or I can say about Shohei that has not been said. I think if and when the Dodgers win this World Series, I mean, I think it's going to be all about him. I enjoy the small things, though. Freddie Freeman hitting another walk-off in another big game. I think he just is cementing his legacy as a Hall of Famer, which he obviously is. I saw the reaction of Clayton Kershaw's wife when he got an out in like the
that was a
15th
big
inning.
out.
It was a big out.
He came in with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and what was it, the 10th inning, I think?
Yeah. So here's the thing that I don't think people understand is that, like, when you talk about Clayton Kershaw, obviously a lot has been written about his postseason performance. In fact, in this postseason, his ERA, I believe, is 15.43. So he has not been a great postseason pitcher.
No.
All of it to say, like, I'm a person who, like, regards Clayton Kershaw as one of the greatest pitchers who has ever lived. Especially as a left-handed pitcher, he's up there with Randy Johnson and Steve Carlton. Like, it's a very short list
I think that's fair.
of left-handed pitchers. So to see him with all of his postseason struggles come in, get that big out, see the reaction from his wife. I mean, it just makes him so much more human.
Yeah.
But dude, there is nothing better than playoff baseball. And a close World Series game, the tension, you can cut it with a knife.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get that anywhere else in sports. You just can't.
Well,
Maybe
I don't
Game
know.
7 NHL.
NBA Game
But
7.
yeah,
But
maybe,
I
but
get your
like
point.
Game 7 NBA has ebbs and flows, and then you're buried
Right.
in the fourth quarter. I'm talking about every pitch, every at bat, the significance of those things. I'm old. I'm not as old as Heathcliff. I'm not as old as Rabbit, but I'm old enough that like those are the things I still love about baseball. I love the World Series. I hope actually Shohei loses tonight and it goes to 2-2 because I want what every Blue Jays and Dodgers fan outside of that group wants is a game 7.
Game 7. Yeah. I think I did not watch hardly any baseball this regular season or postseason up until this World Series. I haven't watched a ton of it, but I have watched some and I have really enjoyed it. It helps to have a big market like LA, and it really helps, most importantly, to have not just the biggest star in the league today, but one of the biggest stars we've ever seen in baseball in
Yes.
Ohtani. Like, that is such a big win for baseball because, as you know, as a baseball fan, not always do the elite players or the great players in a generation make it to the World Series. So to
Yeah, it's
have
rare
a
actually.
guy in his prime, one of the best ever, starring in the World Series
It's awesome.
it's a great win for baseball. Not a great win, in fact, not a win at all for our Pittsburgh Steelers. We've lost 2 in a row. The defense is terrible, terrible, Brian. We just got run by 58-year-old Joe Flacco in his like second start ever for the Bengals. Then we play Green Bay and Jordan
Well,
Love.
Green Bay's good.
They are good, but he completes 20 straight passes, rallying the Packers. Now, the good news is because the division's so bad, we still have a big lead in the AFC North at 4-3. But you've got the Colts and the Chargers coming up the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Colts are good.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the year, 7 games into the season, that the Steelers' offense would be putting up routinely 30 points a game, but yet they'd be losing games because the defense was abysmal, I would have said no. That's the complete opposite of what we've seen the last few years.
The most expensive defense in NFL history, by the way.
Right. But it is. Here we are. Why? Why is this happening, Brian?
Because, Eric, Casey Hampton is not walking through that door. Rod Woodson and Carnell Lake are not walking through that door. Listen, I know people want to fire Mike Tomlin. I poo-poo those people because he's a great coach. But seriously, this is why Mike Tomlin is a great coach, because he needs to get this group together and say, like, look, boys, like, we got to figure this out on defense. Because Aaron Rodgers gets so much attention that I think nationally, I don't know if a lot of people are having the conversation about how terrible the Pittsburgh Steelers defense have been.
It's so bad.
They have good players. The problem is they're not applying enough pressure, and Porter and Slay and Ramsey are not covering well enough. I mean, that's all it really is.
Especially Slay. He has been absolutely terrible. And I read a thing the other day. He is the oldest cornerback in the league that's seeing regular action by 2 years. He's just too old. That's why the Eagles let him go.
He was a good player.
He was a good player. He's terrible this year.
You know what this made me think of was your New York Mets. Because the New York Mets, they have what is known as the worst team money could buy. They had Brett Saberhagen, they had Vince Coleman, they had Hojo.
Was that Bobby Bonilla?
Bobby Bonilla was on that squad. They're still paying him, by the way. He has 2 years left on that deal. But it was the worst team money could buy. And that's what it made me think of. I mean, obviously, we're talking about football, not baseball. But, like, you have these names. Like, you have good players. I don't want to say TJ Watt is washed because that's not fair. No. But what I will say is TJ Watt is not TJ Watt from 3 years ago.
No, he is not even close.
And for me, and it's not TJ's fault because he was a superhuman. He was Superman 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's not that guy anymore. And I think what you're seeing is these guys who get paid a lot of money, who have big names, who were great, just not merging together into cohesive defense right now. The good news for the Steelers is there's time.
Yes.
I know the Colts are on the schedule. I know the Chargers are on the schedule. Let's say they lose both those games and they're 4-5. They're still in first place.
Probably. Although Cincinnati's 3-5, Baltimore's two and
No, the
five, and maybe
Bungles,
getting
what a
Lamar back.
huge win for the Jets to beat the
Yes,
Bungles
that was big
39
for the Steelers.
38. For them, dude, I watched that Jets game just thinking, I don't know if I've ever cheered for the Jets before
I'm
in my
more worried.
life.
I am not worried about the Bengals. I am worried about the Ravens because they beat the Bears
Quote the Ravens,
without
nevermore.
well, yeah, without Lamar Jackson, they beat the Bears. They're 2-5. Here are their next four games. The Dolphins on Thursday night,
Okay.
the Vikings, the
These are
Browns,
games.
the Jets, the Bengals.
Eh.
They could win all five of those. And so
They won't.
now they're 7 and
Mark
5
it
with a
down. I'm
healthy
going to mark it
Lamar.
down on my AI companion here. They are not going to win all five games because, like the Steelers, unfortunately, their defense is terrible.
That's true. It is. I will say this about the Steelers. They have to change schematically a little bit, but also personnel. They have to phase Slay out, which they're starting to do. He played a season low snap total the other day. And they need to play Nick Herbig more. He got more pressures in this game than Highsmith and Watt
Nick
combined.
Herbig. You're
In
so
like
deep here.
I know we're deep, but for people who haven't heard of him, he is an elite level pass rusher at a
Yeah.
young age, but he played like 30 less snaps than Highsmith and Watt. And got more pressures. He has got to be in the mix more.
Yeah.
But Tomlin, I like Tomlin. You know that. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of his career.
So am I.
But he hangs his bread and butter as a defensive coach, right? A defense. In fact, some people say he actually is the de facto defensive
This is what I just
coordinator,
said.
even though it's Terrell Austin, right? But my point is, like, at a certain point, Mike, come on. Like, the schemes clearly aren't working. You're putting your guys, you're blitzing a ton.
Yeah,
and
but
putting
that's
these
why they got
corners
Ramsey. That's why they got Slay. That's why they have
Well,
Porter, so you can play man to
right.
man and blitz.
Well,
It's not working.
It's not working, so you have to change. We've seen enough to know Slay is terrible. Oh, here comes my son into the room for a second. So, well, hi, Max. He is here. All right, Brian. Any other NFL thoughts you had while we're on it?
I love Baker Mayfield probably more. No, that's not true. I love Ben Roethlisberger more, but Baker Mayfield is my favorite player to watch on Red Zone. I love Baker Mayfield. He's so fun to watch. They're so good. The Buccaneers, just the way that he plays. The Bears, shockingly, kind of good. Like, is Caleb Williams going to be like a great player? I don't know. The Chiefs are annoying. How are they still good? Like
Well,
these are just
they're getting
rapid
healthy
fire
too.
NFL notes. Like, how are they still good? It's so annoying.
They may be the favorite right now. They may be the Super Bowl favorite. Before we get out of here, I wanted to give you a chance to review Peacemaker, the show on HBO Max. Tell us about this new season.
Sure. Well, I watched all 8 episodes over a period of 2 days because I like to binge them. Eric, I know that you're not a huge comic book fan. Like, you didn't read a lot of comic books growing up. And I'm not saying that in any other way than to say is like Peacemaker is clearly like a level D, tier D type of superhero. I mean, the way that John Cena takes on this role, it reminds me so much of The Rock. And the way, like, when he got into acting, Dwayne Johnson, people were kind of like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. John Cena does a phenomenal job on this show. All of the acting on the show is actually pretty good. Like, you believe the characters. The one thing about the season that I had a hard time in the first 2 to 3 episodes because it was a lot of character development and not so much plot. And when I was watching it, I resented it. But through episodes 4 through 8, I came to appreciate those moments. And like, have faith in James Gunn that he knows what he's doing. Like, James Gunn has done such a good job with the DC universe. My one James Gunn thing is that he wants you to know that he loves music and he knows a lot about it. At the same time, I don't know if that's a criticism because I have learned a lot from James Gunn and his taste in music. The incorporation of, like, we're not going to take it as a ballad, to having Ozzy Osbourne in, to having like these late 90s, early 2000s bands that were kind of fringe that he brings back. Like, for my age to go like, oh man, I remember that. That was a banger.
Yeah.
Dude, he hits you in the feels with that stuff.
I
Like,
love
he
that.
really does. So overall, I give, on a scale of 10, because that's how we do this, if I remember correctly, I give
That's
season
correct.
2 an 8, which is a
Nice.
solid grade. It was a good story. I cared about the characters. It's it. But if you're going into this and you're looking for the Penguin, you're not going to find the Penguin here. It does not
Yeah.
exist. What
No, that makes
exists,
sense.
it's different, right? And I like his brand of humor. I do. I think they do a nice job of telling a story, mixing in humor. Tim Meadows, you know Tim Meadows,
Oh
right?
yeah,
From Saturday Night
absolutely.
Live. He is magical.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check it out. I
Like
will. I'll put this
he
on my
is
list.
magical. So I'm going to say Peacemaker season 1, stay in there. Peacemaker season 2. I like season 1 better than 2, but that's from a comic book perspective. I think the filmmaking in season 2 is better than season 1.
Okay. All right.
I
Well,
do.
there you go.
So that's all I got. It's probably too much.
No, it's never too much, Brian.
For like I said, Peacemaker. Like Superman? Everyone knows who Superman is. Peacemaker? No, I mean come on. But
Uh,
John Cena in this role is phenomenal.
well, I'm glad you liked it. All right. We'll leave it there for this week. We thank
Okay.
you all for tuning in and watching us. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and check us out on the Everybody Settle Down YouTube channel and the podcast, of course, on Take No Offense. For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. We hope that you enjoyed the show, but if not, please take no offense.